Hi everyone, this is Seminarian Steve here. I am at Douglaston Seminary, and right now I'm in one of our Blessed Sacrament chapels. So, have you ever asked the question, what is faith? What does it look like? How can we get it? I'm sure we've all probably run into those questions before, and it's something good. It's a good question to ask. So, what exactly is faith? Well, this week, the second reading is from the book of Hebrews, and the book gives us a perfect explanation of faith. It says that faith is the realization of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, first off, faith is a gift, and it's a not a material gift, it's a spiritual gift. It's given to us by God. And when does that faith come about? Well, at baptism. When we were baptized and brought into the family of God and wiped away of original sin, we became members of the church, and God infused in our souls and our hearts this gift of faith. And as we grow older, and some of you are going to be making confirmation in just a year or so, hopefully that faith has developed. But how does faith develop? Best way that faith could develop is through experiencing life, everyday life, and challenges, hardships, disappointment, joys, sorrows, happiness. All those ways are examples of how faith can grow. You may be thinking, how is faith going to grow during a time of sadness or sorrow or disappointment? Okay, so let's look at it. Faith, again, we cannot see faith. We can't see it. But we can see people living out faith by going to church, praying the rosary, praying at night, praying in the morning, helping our friends, helping our family. Those are all examples of faith in God. But faith is another word to use. Maybe might be trust or belief in something else outside of ourselves, because we can only do so much as people, as living beings. We can only do so much. We are not going to live forever. We don't have all the answers. We can only fix things so much, and then we have to kind of trust that something somewhere out there is watching over us. And who's that something, someone out there? Well, that something out there, as Christians, we believe is God. And we put our trust in Him, our faith in Him. That at the end of the day, He's kind of watching out for all of us, that He knows our names, knows our joys, knows our sorrows, He knows everything about us. And He's got everything under control. You may have seen like those signs, like God's got it under control. So behind me in the stained glass, it's kind of hard to see it because the sun's like piercing through, but this is Abraham. And Abraham is mentioned in that second reading, the one from Hebrews, and it talks about how his faith, he's also called our father in faith, and how important that was because he heard the voice of God and he completely trusted him. And that when he and his wife couldn't have a child, he trusted that God was going to give him and his wife Sarah a child, and they did. They had a son. When Abraham was put to certain test by God, he had faith that God was going to carry him through those difficult situations, and God did. So when we think about people in the Bible who had like extreme faith, we think about somebody like Abraham, who wasn't the smartest guy in the neighborhood, wasn't the wealthiest, didn't have, probably he was also older when he heard the voice of God. So there are a lot of things that were not really in his favor, and yet that stuff didn't matter to him, and he just put his trust in God. So maybe you might be asking, as we're now somewhat towards the end of the summer, getting ready back to school in a few weeks. How is our faith right now, and what are some things we're doing that make us, help that faith grow? And have we looked at maybe some difficult moments, maybe from last school year, maybe like a disappointing test grade, or you didn't make the baseball team, or you had a fight with your friend, you had a fight with your parents, something like that, and kind of where was God in that situation? Where is He? Because God's in every situation. And again, this faith, this belief, this trust, it really is kind of courageous because we tend to see, if we don't see things, we believe they don't exist, right? Like we see the trees, We could see houses, we could see people, like we believe those things exist. But when it comes to God, it's a little bit more difficult to believe in something that we cannot see. So I would say that faith is it's trusting, it's believing, but it's also something that's courageous. And you have to be brave to have faith because you're kind of like you know that you yourself don't have all the answers. So that's a sign of humility, which is a great step in growing our faith. And you're putting your trust in something in someone who is bigger than you, knows everything about anything in the world, and believing that yes, maybe your life isn't going great right now. There's situations that maybe could be better, but this idea, this faith that God's got everything under control. And the summer has been kind of crazy for a lot of different reasons, but as Christians, as Catholics, we believe that God has got everything under control. He protects us. And the goal of life, of course, is to get to heaven. And that's faith because we can't see heaven, we can't see God, but we put this trust that there has to be some order in the universe, some order in the world, and who has that order but God. So this week, it's a little bit of a difficult reading, the book of Hebrews, and what faith is, but hopefully you could think about ways to maybe grow your faith in these coming weeks before you go back to school, and what are some ways you could probably maintain that faith throughout the school year.